And taking someone's life is one of the worst things you can do. But taking the life of a baby, you'd have to be as cold as ice and as heartless as a stone to do something like that. And that's exactly what these killers were. But karma caught up with them quickly. In a flash, the other prisoners made sure they got a taste of their own medicine, and their end was as brutal as the crime they committed. Leopold and Loeb. Nathan Freudenthal. Leopold Jr., born on November 19, 1904, in Chicago, Illinois, was a highly intelligent individual from an affluent family. He skipped several grades in school and had an IQ reputed to be in the genius range. Leopold was deeply influenced by the philosophy of Friedrich Nietzsche, particularly the concept of the Übermensch, or Superman, which led him to believe he was above conventional moral and ethical constraints. This dangerous ideology played a pivotal role in shaping his criminal behavior. In 1924, Leopold, along with his friend Richard Loeb, committed one of the most infamous crimes of the 20th century. The pair planned and executed the kidnapping and murder of 14-year-old Bobby Franks, a distant cousin of Loeb. The crime was intended to demonstrate their intellectual superiority and provide them with the ultimate thrill. On May 21, 1924, they lured Bobby into their rented car and bludgeoned him to death with a chisel. They disposed of his body in a culvert in Hammond, Indiana, and attempted to obscure his identity with hydrochloric acid. Their plan quickly unraveled when a pair of eyeglasses found near the body were traced back to Leopold. Under intense interrogation, Leopold and Loeb confessed, revealing the chilling details of their crime. The public was horrified, and their trial became a media sensation. Despite their guilt being undisputed, their defense attorney, Clarence Darrow, argued against the death penalty, citing their young age and mental state. On September 10, 1924, Judge John Cavally sentenced them to life imprisonment for murder and 99 years for kidnapping. Leopold and Loeb were sent to Joliet Penitentiary in Illinois. Life in prison was harsh. Leopold adapted by working in the prison hospital, teaching classes, and helping to reform the educational system. His intelligence and resourcefulness earned him a measure of respect from both inmates and staff. He attempted to make the best of his situation, constantly striving to contribute positively to the prison community. Loeb, on the other hand, struggled to adapt. He became a target for other inmates and was less resilient than Leopold. On January 28, 1936, Loeb was brutally attacked by a fellow inmate named James Day. Loeb was slashed multiple times with a razor and died from his injuries. His death marked the end of the notorious partnership, leaving Leopold to navigate prison life alone. After Loeb's death, Leopold continued his efforts to reform and educate himself. In 1944, he published Life Plus 99 Years, a book reflecting on his crime and time in prison, attempting to atone for his past actions and demonstrate his personal transformation. Despite his contributions and model behavior, the shadow of his heinous crime loomed large. Samad Short. Samad Short grew up in a troubled environment. His early years were marked by instability, with frequent run-ins with the law starting from his teenage years. By adulthood, Short had a lengthy criminal record, including charges of theft, assault, and drug possession. Despite numerous attempts at rehabilitation, he seemed to be on a path of self-destruction. The turning point came in 2014, a year forever etched in the memories of North Carolinians. On a seemingly ordinary day, the community was rocked by the news of the death of a 2-year-old toddler, Diunana Anderson. According to reports, the girl's murder was a brutal act of retribution for the earlier killing of a 15-year-old named Kayuan Garner, who had been slain earlier that evening. Courtroom testimonies revealed the harrowing details of that night. Short, along with another individual, stood on an air conditioning unit outside the room where the child, Diunana, and her grandmother, Catherine Price, were asleep. The ensuing violence was swift and devastating. Diunana was tragically killed, and Price suffered multiple gunshot wounds. Price's ordeal was particularly harrowing. A bullet became lodged in her skull, and she needed to be resuscitated twice. In the aftermath of this violent spree, Short was among 4 individuals apprehended just days after the fatal shooting, bringing a semblance of closure to a night marked by senseless violence and loss. Samad Short's fate was sealed on April 3, 2017, when he was convicted of second-degree murder. The following day, he began serving his sentence, a minimum of 25 years in prison, with a projected release date of July 31, 2044, according to Department of Public Safety, DPS records. However, Short's time behind bars was far from uneventful. During his nearly 5 years in prison, records revealed that he committed more than 24 infractions. Many of these violations were violent, including incidents of fighting with weapons and involvement in gang activities. Additionally, he faced disciplinary actions for tampering with locks, underscoring a persistent pattern of defiance and aggression. Then, on a fateful Tuesday afternoon in 2022, Samad Short, now 24 years old, faced faced a violent end at the Bertie Correctional Institution in Windsor. The attack occurred in the housing area just before 2:15 p.m. Despite the immediate response of first responders who performed life-saving measures, Short succumbed to his injuries less than a half-hour later, according to a news release by Department of Public Safety spokesperson John Bull. The assault was not an isolated incident. It was part of a group attack that also left 3 other prisoners injured. These individuals were swiftly transported to an outside medical facility where their injuries were deemed non-life-threatening, as per the release. The incident highlighted the ongoing challenges of maintaining safety and order within the prison system, bringing Short's tumultuous life to a tragic conclusion. While Leopold and Loeb's crime was motivated by a dangerous sense of intellectual superiority,